What if there was a complete system for moral guidance, for choice, and for accountability, all laid out in just one source? Well, today, we're diving into the framework the Quran presents for humanity, and we're going to do it using only its own text. Let's see how it all fits together.
It really all starts with a question I'm pretty sure we've all asked ourselves at some point. Are we born knowing right from wrong? Is there some kind of moral programming already built into us? As we're about to see, the answer to that question is the bedrock of this entire system. According to the Quranic text, the answer is a huge yes. The whole foundation of this framework is the idea that every single one of us is created with this built-in moral compass, and the text has a specific name for it: Fiṭrah. So, what exactly is Fiṭrah? It's described as our original, uncorrupted nature. You could almost think of it like the factory settings for the human soul, right? An internal blueprint that just inherently knows what's true and what's right. It's not something you have to learn, it's what you are from the very beginning.
And this verse here really drives that point home. It emphasizes the permanence of that design. It suggests our core nature, our Fiṭrah. It's unchangeable. Sure, life experiences or our own choices might kind of cover it up or obscure it, but according to this, that original blueprint is always there.
But here's the thing. This inner compass doesn't just work in a vacuum. The system described in the text also gives us an external toolkit to help us read it correctly. This creates this really cool two-part guidance system, one part from within and one from without.
And here you can see the two sides of that coin. On the left, you have the innate guidance. That's our internal compass. It includes the Fiṭrah we just talked about, and also what the text calls discernment, that gut feeling, that ability to tell good from bad. But a compass is only really useful if you also have a map. And that's the revelatory guidance on the right, a book with clear instructions and messengers who actually walk the walk and show us the way.
Okay, so we've got an inner compass and an outer map. But how does this system operate fairly? How does it handle our decisions? Well, the text lays out three really clear, universal laws that govern this whole process of choice and accountability. It's a three-step process, and it's built on fairness. Step 1, provision. The system says no one is held accountable until the message is made totally clear. You have to be given the map first. Step 2, free choice. Once that path is clear, the decision to accept it or reject it is 100% yours. And step 3, consequence. And this is key. That choice kicks off a process, either reinforcing your connection to the right path or hardening your heart against it.
This verse is right at the heart of that law of free choice. It says there can be no compulsion in the deen, or the system of accountability. And the reason is right there, because the correct way has been made totally distinct from error. Belief has to be a genuine, unforced, personal choice.
Now, all this might sound a little abstract, so the Quran gives us this incredibly powerful case study to show these laws in action. It's a really dramatic story about two very different responses to the exact same message, the story of Pharaoh and his own sorcerers.
So, first up, we have Pharaoh. He's presented as the ultimate example of someone who gets all the guidance he needs, the clear signs, the external map, but he makes a very conscious choice to reject it all. And the wording here is so important. The text says his rejection wasn't because he was confused or ignorant. It says his own self was convinced of the truth. It was his arrogance, his pride that led him to deny what his inner compass, his Fiṭrah, already knew to be true. Then, in the exact same story, we get this perfect contrast, the sorcerers. Now these guys were called in by Pharaoh himself to challenge the messenger, Moses. They saw the exact same signs that Pharaoh saw, but their response was the total opposite.
Their reaction was instant. It was sincere. The second they recognized the truth, the moment that external map lined up perfectly with their internal compass, they accepted it, humbly, completely. And in doing so, they activated that third law we talked about, the law of positive reinforcement.
So just look at this breakdown. You have the same message, but two totally different inputs. For Pharaoh, it was arrogance, which led to rejection, and the outcome was spiritual hardening. For the sorcerers, it was humility, which led to acceptance, and the outcome was divine reinforcement, making them strong in their belief, even when Pharaoh threatened them with death. It's a perfect illustration of that law of consequence.
And this leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. What's the ultimate outcome of all these choices? Well, the system wraps up with the principle of perfect accountability. And the Quran has a specific term for it, jaza. Now, jaza isn't about some arbitrary reward or punishment. The source defines it as the just and equivalent consequence. It's the natural, fitting outcome of the path you decided to walk. You could say it's the universe simply balancing the books based on your own choices.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The whole principle of jaza is built on a foundation of absolute fairness. A bad deed is met with its equal. That's perfect justice. But a good deed, it gets recompensed 10 times over, reflecting divine grace and generosity. So justice is the baseline, but goodness is amplified.
And that brings the entire framework full circle, a complete integrated system. It starts with our innate nature, our Fiṭrah. That nature is then given clarity through revelation. We are then given total freedom of choice, which leads to a perfectly just consequence. See how each piece just clicks right into the next?
So, that leaves us with one final thought to ponder. If this system is really designed with a built-in compass and a clearly drawn map, and the choice to follow it is entirely our own, what does that ultimately say about the weight of our own personal responsibility?